And that's why I had to take the stand, because I had to explain why I didn't kill Eric Mingram, because I was in possession of the gun who, you know what I mean? I was in possession of the gun who killed Eric Mingram. And that's where the snitching part is. That's where it started, because it says when I got up on the stand, of course, they asked me what happened. I told the story just like how I told y'all. And what they asked you was, do you see the person who shot you in there? No. Do you see the person that shot you in there? Ezekiel Freekey Zekey Giles said no.
Zeke snitched if he did, I'd be doing 100 years.
Culture gang, culture gang, culture gang. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that post notification bell if y'all rocking with your boy. Let's jump right into it. Today's update in the culture, we're going to be talking about Freekey Zekey, aka Freekey, aka Ezekiel Giles. And today we're going to be uncovering whether or not Freekey Zekey kept it solid throughout his lifetime and throughout his career and throughout his endeavors in the rap game and in the streets, man. Now, if we're going to be talking about Freekey Zekey, then we're going to have to take it back to the beginning, man. Now, let's break this thing down. Zeke grew up in Harlem, New York in the 80s and 90s. Zeke met Cameron and Jim Jones in the early 90s, somewhere around high school. Now, I believe Jimmy knew him first. He met him in about middle school. If y'all know anything about Zeke, Zeke was always a real wild card, you know, like a street fighter type of dude, not known to back down. I don't believe he was a bully or nothing like that, but he just was a wild card, one of those type of friends, man. You know, always doing outlandish things. Now, according to Jimmy, Cam, and Zeke, and a couple of the stories I've heard, Jimmy introduced Zeke to Cam on some. Cam felt like Dipset, they was going to create a crew, and he felt like they needed a tough image or a tough guy or somebody that was willing to go all out for them involved in the set. And Jimmy idea was he had the perfect guy, man. So he brought along Zeke, who was the ultimate hype guy, the ultimate loyal, you know, stand-up type of guy. So it may seem. Now, Dipset rose to fame in the early 2000s, and Zeke been along the ride for the whole ride. They helped Cam form a street team in the late 90s, and they got busy. Here comes the early 2000s, Dipset takes off, big Rockefeller deal, things are going everywhere. And what's that other one everybody used to go for? Koch Records and things of that nature. Now let's get into this paperwork. Ezekiel Freekey Zekey Giles, a member of the Dipset rap group, testified in court against Chauncey Dillon, the man accused of shooting and wounding him and killing his friend and bodyguard Eric Mingram during a botched robbery in 2003. During his testimony in Manhattan Supreme Court, Zekey recounted the harrowing ordeal, describing how he struggled with one of the assailants who had grabbed his diamond medallion and pointed a gun at his head. He described how he was shot in the abdomen, struck in the head, thrown into garbage bags, and run over by a car, all while trying to protect his friend. Is it worth noting that during his testimony, Freekey Zekey was described as having memory gaps by the New York Post? However, prosecutors were able to use surveillance video to corroborate some details of the incident, including a clip of showing Dillon throwing Freekey Zekey into trash bags while wearing a green jacket. Ultimately, Chauncey Dillon was convicted of felony attempted robbery and gun possession, and assault charges in connection with the incident. He was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison. Now I'm reading right here on hotnewhiphop.com. Zekey was involved in a car accident that ultimately escalated into a firefight that left the rapper shot and his friend Eric Mangrum dead. It didn't take long for authorities to apprehend several suspects, including a man named Chauncey Dillon. During Dillon's trial, Zekey was called in as a witness. As the story goes, Zekey didn't name names nor point fingers, but his description of a man in a green jacket was enough to nail Dillon as the trigger man and land him 30 years. Zekey explains that the courtroom transcription doesn't lie, and he invites doubters to take a look to the public records for validation of his innocence. There are two things a man doesn't want to be called, he explains, naming a homophobic slur and snitch in the same dubious category. The host proceeds to play footage of an interrogation with one of Chauncey Dillon's entourage from 2003, which Zekey feels will clear his name once and for all. He also takes a moment to recount his own experience on the scariest night of his life. I'm looking for parking and an nigga hit my truck. He says, my father told me that's the move. They hit the truck, you get out to see what's going on. They see the jewelry you got on. When I got out, I was on the run. I was like, F, I don't want to get locked up. We go around the corner and they just sitting there. I should have known. He explains that he tried to exchange information without getting the police involved, only for one man to reach for a gun. I grabbed his mother-ucking gun. He started letting off. He recalls, complete with sound effects. Once it jammed, I spun him around and put the nigga in a full Nelson. By this point, everyone had drawn weapons, and Zekey all but counted himself dead. Now, when these mother-uckers are trying to shoot me, I'm aiming this nigga at all the hammers. Unfortunately, a human shield is far from impenetrable. And Zekey took a bullet all the same. He remembers how some of the men were crying for him to be hit in the head, prompting him to cry out, "Don't do that." Eventually, the attackers peeled off, and Zekey recalls seeing his friend Eric Mangrum on the ground. There was blood all over the place. And I was like, damn, I feel cold too, said Zekey. He said, Zekey, I'm cold. I'm cold. I said, damn, don't worry about that. You gonna be all right. But now I'm getting cold. And with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the main reason why I feel, and I'm almost 100% sure, that Freekey Zekey did not stay solid, man. Because at the end of the day, you could plead the fifth on everything. Listen, a car accident happened. I pulled over, got out the car, shots start flying everywhere. I do not recall what happened. I woke up in the hospital. I was told I was shot, ran over by a car, and my friend was dead. I did not see anyone. Everybody was wearing dark colored clothes. And at the end of the day, if they try to charge you with anything, all you got to do is say, let me get my attorney, man. Because I'm going to keep it all the way solid. You did not have to testify, Freekey Zekey. As I'm looking and reading through this paperwork, and I dive deep into this situation, I see that there was cameras that happened in Manhattan, New York, in the city. There's cameras everywhere. Now, granted, it was way back in the day, over 20 years ago, and camera technology wasn't as savvy as it is now. but there still was camera footage. You let these police do their jobs. So staying solid in that situation would have been exactly what I just said. I don't recall what happened. Shots was flying everywhere. You gave a whole description of what guys had on. Green. They watched the video. Green. They corroborated your testimony and your statements to the video surveillance, and that man got 30 years to life, man. Chauncey Dillon. You did not, I repeat, you did not have to recount what happened to the authorities. You can speak through your attorney. So with these facts, Freekey Zekey did not stay solid. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that post notification bell. It's Culture Update, guys. Let's go. Gang.